"I've waited long enough for that house," my mom declared after Grandma's stroke. I gathered evidence to expose her plan. The next day, I found a video. I never thought I'd be the one to tear my family apart. But sometimes the truth has a way of doing that all on its own. My grandmother's 92nd birthday was supposed to be a celebration. Instead, it became the night that exposed years of manipulation and lies. I almost didn't go. After years of enduring my mother Barbara's emotional warfare, family gatherings had become exercises in restraint. Every smile forced, every conversation carefully navigated to avoid her traps. But I couldn't miss Grandma Alina's birth. She'd always been my rock, even when Barbara tried to position herself between us. I arrived late intentionally. Easier to slip into an already bustling dinner than to endure the awkward pre-meal small talk. Aunt Carol spotted me first, her face lighting up with genuine warmth. She patted the empty seat beside her, my salvation for the evening. "Ethan, you made it." Carol's hug felt like home, the only person in my family who truly saw through Barbara's performance. My mother barely acknowledged my arrival, just a tight-lipped smile before returning to her conversation with my uncle. Fine by me. Grandma Alina reached for my hand across the table. Her fingers were paper-thin, but her grip surprisingly strong. Her eyes still held that sharp intelligence that Barbara often tried to dismiss. "My boy," she whispered, "so good to see you." Dinner progressed as these things do. Polite conversation, carefully measured laughter, the dance of a family with too many unspoken conflicts. I was counting the minutes until I could make a graceful exit when Barbara's voice cut through the chatter. "Well, I've waited long enough, haven't I? It's about time I got that house." My grandmother's house, the beautiful Victorian where she'd lived for 60 years, the one property in our family with any significant value. Barbara had been eyeing it for decades. "Mom's still living in it," I said, my voice tight. "Or did you forget she's sitting right here?" Barbara's laugh was brittle. "Don't be dramatic, Ethan. Mother knows she can't manage it much longer. We've discussed this." Grandma Alina's face told a different story. Her eyes narrowed, her mouth set in a firm line. "We most certainly have not," she said. Barbara waved her hand dismissively. "You're getting confused again, Mother. Remember, the doctor said your memory isn't what it used to be." A classic Barbara tactic, gaslighting in front of an audience, knowing most would be too uncomfortable to challenge her. Not me, not anymore. "Grandma's mind is perfectly sharp," I said. "Maybe you're the one getting confused about conversations that never happened." Barbara's eyes flashed with anger before she recovered, her face slipping into the wounded mother role she'd perfected over years. "I've sacrificed everything for this family, giving up my own dreams to care for Mother. And this is the thanks I get. My own son accusing me of lying." Aunt Carol cleared her throat. "Barbara, no one's accusing you of anything, but perhaps this isn't the time or place." "Oh, I know exactly what's happening here," Barbara cut her off. "Ethan has always resented me, always been ungrateful for everything I've done for him." The familiar script: Barbara as martyr, Barbara as victim, everyone else as ungrateful, selfish monsters. Not tonight. I wouldn't let her ruin Grandma's birthday with her performance. "What exactly have you done for me, Mom? Since I turned 18, I've been completely financially independent, put myself through college, bought my own car, paid my own rent." Barbara's mouth opened and closed fish-like. This wasn't in her script. "You've never understood what real sacrifice looks like," she finally managed. "Money isn't everything." Something snapped inside me. Years of pent-up frustration broke through the dam of polite restraint. I pulled out my phone, opened my banking app, and slid it across the table to her. "Here's my account balance. I've never asked you for a penny, never will, so please stop pretending I'm after your money or Grandma's house." Her face flushed deep red. The rest of the family stared at their plates, uncomfortable witnesses to our public confrontation. "Well," Barbara said, her voice tight with rage, "if that's how you feel, then don't expect anything from me. No inheritance, nothing." I laughed, couldn't help it. The absurdity of being threatened with the loss of something I'd never wanted in the first place. "Fine by me." Grandma reached for my hand again, squeezing it gently. Her eyes held a mix of sadness and pride. I'd finally done what she couldn't, stood up to Barbara without flinching. The dinner ended shortly after. Awkward goodbyes, half-hearted promises to get together soon. The familiar rituals of a fractured family. I thought that was the end of it. I was wrong. The call came at 2:17 a.m. My cousin Rachel's voice thick with tears. "Ethan, it's Grandma, she's collapsed." My heart stopped, then raced. I was in my car before the call ended, still wearing sweatpants and an old t-shirt. The hospital's fluorescent lights buzzed overhead as I found my family clustered in the waiting room. Except Barbara. "Where's my mother?" I asked, scanning the room again as if I might have missed her. Carol's expression tightened. "We've been calling, no answer." The weight of that simple statement settled in my stomach like a stone. Her mother was potentially dying, and Barbara couldn't be bothered to pick up the phone. A doctor approached, his face carefully neutral. "The initial tests suggest a stroke. We won't know the extent of the damage until she regains consciousness." If she regains consciousness. The unspoken words hung in the air. Barbara finally arrived at 6:43 a.m., looking remarkably put together for someone who'd supposedly rushed to her mother's bedside. No wrinkled clothes, perfect makeup, not a hair out of place. "Where have you been?" I couldn't keep the accusation from my voice. She raised an eyebrow. "I was sleeping, Ethan. Some of us need our rest. Your mother had a stroke. We've been calling you for hours." Barbara sighed dramatically. "My phone was on silent. I came as soon as I saw the messages." The lie was so obvious it was almost insulting. I opened my mouth to call her on it, but Carol's hand on my arm stopped me. Not the time, not the place. Barbara swept past me to speak with the doctor, her voice suddenly trembling with concern. The performance was back on. "How is she, doctor? My poor mother, I've been so worried." I turned away, disgusted. Through the window of the ICU, I could see my grandmother. Small, fragile, tubes and wires connecting her to machines that beeped and hummed. A sudden, terrible thought struck me. What if Barbara had been waiting for this? What if her comment at dinner wasn't just her usual selfishness, but something darker? The memory of her words echoed. "I've waited long enough." It seemed unthinkable, and yet I caught Barbara's expression as she looked at our grandmother through the glass. Not grief, not fear, something else entirely, something that made my blood run cold. Over the next few days, Grandma Alina stabilized but remained unconscious. I split my time between the hospital and work, determined to be there when she woke up, if she woke up. Barbara's visits were brief, performative. She'd arrive, make a show of distress for the nurses, then leave claiming it was too difficult to see Mother this way. It was during one of these periods between Barbara's visits that Aunt Carol pulled me aside. "There's something you should know," she said, her voice low, "about your grandmother's will." My stomach tightened. "What about it?" "She changed it 6 months ago." I frowned. "Changed it how?" Carol glanced around to ensure we were alone. "The house. She left it to me and the grandchildren, split evenly. Barbara was cut out completely." The revelation hit me like a physical blow. No wonder Barbara had been so eager to discuss inheritance at the birthday dinner. She must have found out. "Does Barbara know?" Carol shook her head. "I don't think so, not officially, but she's always had a way of finding things out. Why would Grandma cut her out?" Carol's expression darkened. She found out Barbara had been stealing from her, small amounts at first, then larger sums, using her credit cards. Alina confronted her, but Barbara denied everything. Said Alina was getting confused, but your grandmother knew the truth. The pieces started falling into place. Barbara's sudden interest in Grandma's health, her comment at dinner, her absence when Grandma collapsed. "We need to protect the will," I said. "If something happens to Grandma." Carol nodded. "The original is at her house, in the safe behind the painting in her study. The lawyer has a copy, but if Barbara gets her hands on the original, she could contest it, claim Grandma wasn't of sound mind." It was exactly the kind of thing Barbara would do, had probably been planning to do it all along. 3 days later, Rachel called in a panic. Someone had broken into Grandma's house. I met Carol there, both of us rushing up the walkway to the beautiful old Victorian that had been in our family for generations. The front door was ajar. Inside, drawers had been emptied, furniture overturned. A systematic search rather than a random burglary. We found the painting in the study on the floor, the safe behind it open and empty. Barbara had gotten there first. "What do we do now?" Rachel asked, her voice small. I didn't have an answer, not then, but I knew we needed to document everything. "Take pictures," I told Rachel, already pulling out my phone. "Every room, every drawer, the broken lock, the empty safe, everything." Carol called the police while I searched for any clues Barbara might have left behind. In her rush, she dropped a receipt near the back door. A gas station just 2 hours earlier. Proof she'd been there. The police arrived within 20 minutes. The detective walked through the house, taking notes and asking questions. Was anything else missing? Did we know who might have done this? We shared our suspicions about Barbara, but without concrete proof, there wasn't much they could do. "Family disputes are complicated," he said with a sympathetic grimace. "Document everything for your lawyer." After the police left, we combed through the house inch by inch. Barbara may have taken the will, but perhaps Grandma had left other evidence. We found bank statements showing unusual withdrawals, credit card bills with charges Grandma couldn't have made, a notebook where she documented her suspicions about Barbara's theft. Each discovery was another piece of ammunition for the legal battle ahead. The call from the lawyer came that evening. Barbara had filed a claim on the house, arguing that Alina wasn't mentally competent when she changed the will. Without the original document, it would be her word against ours. "She's moved fast," said Grandma's attorney. "I have a copy of the will, but without the original and with Alina unable to testify." His voice trailed off. We both knew what it meant, an uphill battle against a woman who'd perfected the art of deception. We hired our own lawyer, who had a reputation for handling difficult inheritance disputes. She didn't sugarcoat our situation. "Barbara has built a compelling narrative," she explained during our first meeting. "She's been telling people for months that your grandmother was confused. She's got friends willing to testify they witnessed Alina forgetting basic information or becoming disoriented." "That's a lie," Carol said, her voice tight with anger. "I believe you," my lawyer replied, "but we need evidence, not just our word against hers." Over the next 3 weeks, we became amateur detectives. I took time off work to interview anyone who'd had regular contact with Grandma, the gardener who came every Thursday, the woman who delivered groceries, her bridge club friends. Many seemed reluctant to get involved. Some admitted Barbara had already contacted them, sharing her concerns about being dragged into a messy legal battle. Barbara's web of influence was extensive. Years of careful cultivation of the right appearances, the right connections. The nurses who'd cared for Grandma during her regular checkups were suddenly uncertain about her mental state. Friends who'd visited regularly couldn't quite remember the specifics of their conversations. Even Grandma's regular doctor seemed hesitant to confirm her cognitive clarity, citing patient confidentiality. I felt powerless, watching her machinery of manipulation grind into motion while Grandma lay unconscious, unable to speak the truth. Then Rachel found the video. She'd been going through old files on Grandma's computer, looking for anything that might help our case. What she found was a recording made just 3 weeks before the stroke. Grandma Alina, sitting in her living room with her lawyer discussing her will. Her voice clear, her intentions explicit. "I want the house to go to Carol and my grandchildren," she said on the recording. "Not to Barbara. I've made this decision with a clear mind and full understanding of my actions." The lawyer's voice. "And you understand this is a significant change from your previous will?" "I do. My daughter has betrayed my trust repeatedly. I will provide for her basic needs, but the house must be protected from her." It was everything we needed. Proof that Grandma had been mentally sound when making the change. Proof of her intentions. The day of the hearing arrived. The courthouse loomed large, its stone facade imposing against the morning sky. My stomach churned with anxiety as we climbed the steps. Grandma was still in the hospital, improving slowly but unable to testify. Her absence felt like a physical void in the courtroom, an empty chair where our star witness should have been. We arrived early, my lawyer wanting to review our strategy one final time. Barbara's lawyer was a shark in an expensive suit, known for aggressive tactics and theatrical performances that mirrored his client's own style. "Remember," my lawyer whispered as we took our seats, "Barbara will put on a show. Don't react. Let her dig her own grave." The courtroom filled gradually. Distant relatives I barely recognized. Neighbors curious about the drama. A few of Barbara's friends strategically placed where the judge could see their supportive nods. Barbara arrived last, timing her entrance for maximum effect. She wore a conservative black dress, hair pulled back in a modest bun, playing the part of the devoted daughter in mourning. Her eyes were carefully reddened, not enough to seem hysterical, just enough to suggest recent tears. She didn't know about the video. The proceedings began with opening statements. Her lawyer painted a heart-wrenching picture of a daughter devoted to her ailing mother, cruelly cut out of her inheritance due to Alina's deteriorating mental state. I dug my fingernails into my palms to keep from shouting out the lies. My lawyer's hand on my arm reminded me to stay calm. When Barbara took the stand, her testimony was a masterclass in manipulation. A lifetime of perfecting the art of deception distilled into 45 minutes of expert performance. She dabbed at her eyes with a tissue as she described finding her mother confused and disoriented. Her voice broke as she recounted Alina calling her by the wrong name. Tears spilled over when she spoke of the cruel manipulation that had turned her mother against her. The accusatory glance she threw at Carol and me was calculated to perfection. My mother was already showing signs of confusion when she made these changes, Barbara continued, her voice catching. She would forget conversations we'd had, mix up her medications. She once left the stove on all night. It broke my heart to see her declining, but I did everything I could to help her. When it was my lawyer's turn for cross-examination, she approached the stand unhurriedly. No dramatic gestures, no raised voice, just calm precision. "You've painted a vivid picture of your mother's declining mental state," she began. "Very concerning." Barbara nodded, a perfect mix of sad and resolute. "When did you first notice these worrying symptoms?" "About a year ago," Barbara replied without hesitation. "Little things at first, forgetting where she put her glasses, confusion about what day it was." My lawyer nodded sympathetically. "And you took her to a doctor for these concerns?" A flash of uncertainty crossed Barbara's face. "I tried, but she refused. She was in denial about her condition." "I see. So there's no medical documentation of this cognitive decline?" "Not officially, no, but anyone who spent time with her could see it." My lawyer consulted her notes. "Like her primary physician who saw her every month?" Barbara shifted in her seat. "He didn't see her the way I did, at home, when she was struggling." My lawyer nodded again, then changed direction abruptly. "When was the last time you visited your mother's home prior to her stroke?" Barbara blinked, thrown by the change in direction. "I visited frequently, at least once a week." "So you would have been there on the 15th of last month?" "I believe so, yes." "And during this visit, how would you describe your mother's mental state?" Barbara saw the trap too late. "She was confused that day, particularly bad." My lawyer approached the bench. "Your Honor, I'd like to present Exhibit C." The bailiff set up the video equipment. Barbara's eyes darted around the room like a cornered animal's. Her lawyer leaned forward, suddenly alert to the danger. "What is this?" her lawyer demanded. "Evidence," my lawyer replied simply. The screen came to life. Alina appeared, sitting in her living room, the timestamp clearly visible, the 15th of last month, the very day Barbara claimed to have visited and found her confused. Alina's voice rang clear and strong through the courtroom. "I want the house to go to Carol and my grandchildren, not to Barbara. I've made this decision with a clear mind and full understanding of my actions." The lawyer's voice from behind the camera. "And you understand this is a significant change from your previous will?" "I do. My daughter has betrayed my trust repeatedly. She has taken money from my accounts without permission, used my credit cards, lied to me about her financial situation. I've given her chances to make amends, but she continues to steal from me." Alina looked directly into the camera, her eyes sharp with clarity and purpose. "I am of sound mind. I know exactly what I'm doing." Barbara will receive a monthly stipend for her basic needs, but the house must be protected from her. She would sell it immediately to cover her debts, and my family would lose their heritage. The courtroom was utterly silent. Every eye turned to Barbara, whose face had drained of color. Her carefully constructed facade crumbled in real time. That's not, she stammered. She was confused. She was coached to say these things. You just testified you were there that day and found her confused. Yet here she is, demonstrating remarkable clarity. Can you explain this discrepancy? Barbara looked to her lawyer for rescue, but Palmer sat frozen, blindsided by the devastating evidence. Would you like to revise your testimony? My lawyer pressed. Perhaps acknowledge that you were not, in fact, present that day, or that your mother was not, in fact, confused. Barbara's composure shattered completely. You don't understand what I've been through, she shouted, her performance giving way to genuine rage. I deserve that house. After everything I've done, everything I've endured, she was going to leave it all to me. It was promised to me. Then they turned her against me. The judge's decision came swiftly after that. The will would stand as written. The house would go to Carol and the grandchildren, as Alina had intended. Furthermore, an investigation would be opened into the financial irregularities Alina had mentioned in the video. But the victory was bittersweet. The case had exposed Barbara's true nature, certainly, her debts, her theft from her own mother, her lies. Yet seeing her crumble in that courtroom brought me no joy, only a profound sadness for what might have been, for the mother I'd never really had. Barbara tried her usual tactics afterward. Tears, accusations of betrayal, claims that we'd manipulated Alina against her. This time, no one believed her. Even those who'd once enabled her behavior could no longer deny the evidence of who she truly was. The family fractured along new lines. Those who could no longer stomach Barbara's manipulation. Those few who still tried to make excuses for her. I positioned myself firmly in the former camp. No more forced family dinners. No more walking on eggshells. No more pretending. Grandma Alina eventually regained consciousness. Her recovery was slow, but her mind remained sharp. She moved in with Carol in the house that had nearly been stolen from her. Barbara received nothing beyond a small monthly stipend, as specified in the will. Not enough to maintain her lifestyle. Certainly not enough to cover her substantial debts. She lost more than money. She lost the power she'd held over the family for decades. The ability to control narratives, to manipulate emotions, to position herself at the center of every story. That was what truly broke her in the end. Not the loss of inheritance, but the loss of control. Some lessons come at a terrible price, but they're no less valuable for it. The truth always finds its way to the light. And when it does, you have a choice. Turn away and cling to comfortable lies, or face it, accept it, and begin to heal. I chose to heal. To build something real from the ashes of what was lost. And in the end, that's the greatest victory of all.